and look back on it as well. So say for this one, P equals 2L plus 2W. If you're solving for L, you're going to do 2L plus 2W equals P. So since you're solving for L, we want L on this side and we want to bring this over here. Does that make sense to you, girls? Because we want the L to be on this side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 2W on each side. So what's left on this side is 2L. This is canceled out. And what's left on this side is negative 2W plus P. Does that make sense so far? Okay, now our next step is to get our 2 away from our L. And they're multiplying, so we divide. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So this becomes L on this side. And then this becomes negative 2W plus B divided by 2. All right, so we have P divided by 2 is 1/2 P minus W, because negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1W. We do not need to put the 1 there. We can just put minus W. And that, my friends, is the answer. So for these type of problems, we're only going as far as we can, and sometimes that does not give us a number. It gives us this big mess. And what that's saying is wherever you see an L, you're going to type or write in 1/2 P minus W to solve. So does that make sense to you girls now a little bit? Can you unmute yourself and say yes or no, because I can't see?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you would do the opposite if you were solving for W. You would keep the W on this side and you would bring the 2L over here. So, make sense? So let's try it. If you're solving for W, we're going to write our problem out. We're going to subtract 2L on both sides. And what we have on this side, I'm going to do this so it doesn't look like a 21. We have 2W on this side, and then we have P minus 2L on this side. To get the 2 away from the W, you divide by 2, and anything you do to this side, you do to the other. And now we have that cancels each other out. What's left on this side is W. And then what's left on this side is 1/2 P minus 1L. But we don't have to put the 1 in there. And that's the answer. Is that helpful, girls?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's do number 14. So if you're solving for R, we have distance over time equals rate, right? Let me make sure that is, oh, sorry. D equals R times T. So if you're solving for R, we have to get the T away from the R. They're multiplying. So what do we have to do? We have to divide, right? And then this cancels each other out. This one's way easier. That's the answer. D over T equals R. Does that make sense? Beautiful. All right. If solving for t, we write our formula out. D equals rate times time. To get the r away from the t, we divide by r, and anything we do to one side, we do to the other. D over r equals t. All right. And then Maddie, you said number 16 was tricky for you?
Yeah.
All right. I know these word problems are a pain in the neck. Okay. So I like to write it out. You're biking at a speed of 18 miles per hour. You're 3 miles behind your friend who's going 12 miles per hour. Write and solve an equation to find the amount of time it takes you to catch up to your friend. So we have distance, rate, and time. So the distance you traveled is 18x minus 3, right? You're going 18 miles per hour times some amount, and you're minus 3 behind. And the person that you're trying to catch is going 12x. We don't know this yet. So here's what we have to do. X is the time in hours to catch up. Now, if it's a fraction, that means it's going to take less than an hour, right? And a fraction is totally fine to get as an answer. So if we get a fraction, that means it's going to take minutes. If we get a whole number like 1, it means it's going to take us 1 hour. If we get a 1.5, we know what that means, right? That's 1 hour plus a half an hour. So that's all they're asking for with that. Does that make sense to you? I know it's tricky and I know it's crazy, but
Yeah.
Makes sense now? Okay. Now we know what we have to do. We have to get our letters on one side and our numbers on the other. So normally I wouldn't do it this way. I would not bring this over here because it's going to be, then I have to bring this over. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our distance negative by doing a negative 18x. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So this is going to give us a negative number in time, but don't worry, girls, because we have a negative over here. So it's going to clear itself out because you know two negatives make a positive, right? So normally I would try not to make a negative, but we're fine because I saw very clearly that we have a negative over here. So are you guys with me so far?
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Ellie?
Yeah.
Okay. The good news is if you guys don't get it, you can rewatch this as many times as you can before tomorrow's test, which is, not that many times, but okay. So this cancels each other out, and what we have on this side is negative 3, and then what we have on this side is negative 6x, right? Because we have a negative 18 and a 12x. So I'm going to divide by negative 6 on this side, and then I'm going to divide by negative 6 on this side. This cancels each other out. We have an x on this side, and then I have a negative and a negative, so I know that's going to make a positive. And then I have 3/6, which I know is 1/2. So it's going to take a half an hour to catch up. Whoops, I was a little bit off. There you go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Isn't it
Yeah.
so cool when someone does it for you? You're like, oh, yeah. So what I'm predicting is that you're going to have similar problems on your test. It's not going to be exactly the same, but you're going to set it up very similarly. And for this one, I think you guys get it now, 13 and 14. Is there any questions that you have about what we did so far? Any other problems that you want me to do that were hard for you?
No.
You got it. Okay. So number 8, we're going to take the sum of all of these and they equal 360. So we're just going to do that one. We'll see how far we get. So I have x minus 3 plus x plus 8 plus x minus 5. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4x. And then I have minus 3. You can always put it like this if you need to. That's totally fine to kind of figure it out. And I have negative 3 and a negative 5, which is negative 8 plus 8. All these numbers cancel each other out. And we have 0. So we just write 4x equals 360. They're multiplying 4 by x, so what do we have to do to get the 4 away from the x? I think Maddie said something. She was on mute.
You have to divide.
You have to divide. So we are going to divide both sides by 4. This cancels out. What's left on this side is x. And then we know 4 goes into 36 9 times. So it's 90. And then we have to label our answer with degrees. Does that make sense to you girls?
Yeah.
Beautiful. These seem pretty decent. Do you feel okay with 9 and 10? Okay, Ellie, how come I can only see Maddie right now? There you go. Ellie, how do you feel about 9 and 10?
I feel fine.
Okay. Shall I go to number 11? Solve when there's an x and a y?
Sure.
Okay. So if you're solving for y, that means we have to move this whole thing over here, and the y is going to stay on this side. Does that make sense to you girls? So the y has to stay on this side, and we have to bring the x over here. So the only way to do that is to do the opposite of what they're doing. They're adding 1.2, so we have to subtract 1.2. And then it's 1.2x, right? Anything I do to one side of my equation, I do to my other side of the equation. So I cleared this out, and what's left on this side is negative 4y. And then what's left on this side is 28 minus 1.2x over nothing yet, but it's going to be over, because I know to get my negative 4 away from my y, I have to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by 4. That cancels this out. And since I divided this side by -4, I have to divide that side by -4. Now, I don't know if this is you, but do you guys kind of freak out when you start to see stuff that looks like this? Are you like, what is that? Or do you feel okay?
I feel fine.
Okay. Because some of my kids are like, but I tell them it doesn't matter. We just solve one thing at a time, just one thing at a time. And so a fraction or this big mess is just one thing at a time. So this is what I know. I know that 4 can divide into 28, and I know 4 can divide into 1.2 because 4 divides into 12, right? So I'm going to say 4 goes into 28 how many times? 7. And so I know it's negative because this is a negative. And then I have a minus 1.2. So I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to do 1.2 divided by 4 is 0.3x. But it's not just one negative, it's 2, right? Because I have this negative and I have this negative that I have to bring up here. And we know that 2 negatives make a positive. So y equals -7 plus 3.3x. And that's the answer. Is that what you guys got, do you think, or do you not remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. So that's how you do it. Do you guys have any questions for that? Whatever you're solving for stays on one side and you get rid of the other thing. So if you're solving for x, x would stay here and y would go over. Whatever you're solving for stays on this side, and whatever they're doing, you do the opposite. So because this is a positive number, it's like they're adding 1.2x, so you subtract. If it was a negative, you would add, and that would bring it on over here. And then often you will be able to simplify this fraction by seeing what goes in to both of these numbers. And then just make sure that you keep your signs straight, because that is tricky, right? If there's a negative here, it goes up on both expressions. Any questions about that, girls? No questions?
No questions. At least I don't have any.
All right. So if we can do 11, then we can do 12, right? And you guys are fine with trying 12 on your own now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do either one of you want me to do 12?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. Ellie, are you good with trying 12?
Yeah.
Okay. We did 13 and 14 already. Let me ask you guys for number 6. You guys know when there is a number touching a parentheses like this, you distribute the 9 throughout, right? So if you guys could keep yourself off mute, that would be awesome. I know in school you have to mute yourself, but for me, I want to hear some feedback so I know how everything's going for you girls. And interrupt me if you're confused. And to do that, the mics can be off and make our lives easier. Okay, so can you guys tell me, this one looks fine for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and solve it and find out what you get. It's number 6, and then I'm going to take it offline so I can solve it. And then let me know when you have the answer, what the answer that you got is. Okay. Are you guys doing okay? Do you need help? Did you have a question, Maddie? You raised your hand or?
Oh, no. I turned my camera off and muted because my dog is crying. I was trying to figure out why.
Ah, what a good sister you are. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Goldador, so it's like half. Actually, I don't know. Ellie will probably know that. Our dogs are siblings, but it's half lab, half golden retriever.
Oh, that's so cute. Like, they're the best. Both dogs. We have an Aussie Doodle, and he's Australian Shepherd and Poodle. So he's a doodle. All right, girls, did you finish the problem?
Yeah.
All right. What did you get, Maddie?
I don't actually know if this is right, but I got 1.5.
1.5. Okay, what did you get, Ellie?
I got a completely random, probably never ending decimal, so I don't think I got it right.
All right, let me do it for you. So there's a lot going on, and we have to figure out what we have to do here. So the first thing I notice is that not only do I have to distribute, but I have letters on both sides and I have numbers on both sides, which is going to make for quite a few steps, but we're taking one step at a time. I'm all about one step. One small step, slow and steady. That's all. So this 9 is touching the parentheses, so I have to distribute the 9 here and here. So I'm going to do 9 times 8D is 72D minus 9 times 5 is 45. Did you guys both get that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we add in our plus 13 equals 12D minus 2. So this is the big honkin' problem. Now you have to decide, are you bringing your numbers over here or your letters over here? You can do it either way. I decided I'm going to bring this 12D over here. They're adding 12D, so I'm going to subtract 12D. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I'm left with 60D minus 45 plus 13 equals negative 2. And I don't freak out. I go, all right, that still looks like a lot. I'm cool with that. Just one step at a time. So I have negative 45 plus 13 is negative 32. So I'm going to do 60D minus 32 equals negative 2. It's looking much more manageable. Now I know that my letters on this side, so I've got to get this 32 over here. They're subtracting 32, so I'm going to add 32. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So this cancels each other out. What's left on this side is 60D. And then I have a positive 32 minus 2 is 30. Now to get my 60 away from my D, I have to divide because they're multiplying. What I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels each other out. D equals 1/2, which is a totally fine, perfectly great answer. We can have a fraction as our answer. So do you guys see what you did wrong on your problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is what I did, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I want you girls to always know is don't ever get overwhelmed. We just do one little piece at a time. One little piece until it starts to look more manageable, right? Okay. Do you have any questions about that one?
No.
Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm going to do the word problems because I hated word problems when I was your age. So let's just figure them out. So we have 15, 17, and 18. So it says number 15, your basketball team wins the game by 13 points. The opposing team scores 72 points. Explain how to find your score, your team's score. So we start with what we know. 72 is what the other team got, and we won by 13 points. We add those together. Our score for our team was 85 points. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Number 17. 2 scientists are measuring lava temperatures. One scientist records a temperature So one science temperature is 1,725 degrees Fahrenheit. And the others, so scientist 2, is 950 degrees Celsius. So which is the greater temperature? So we already have this in Fahrenheit, and this is already in Celsius. So they said use C equals 5/9 F minus 32 to figure it out. So we are going to change this to Celsius because this is already in Celsius. So we're going to write out the formula. C equals 5/9 F minus 32. And then we're going to plug in our Fahrenheit temperature, which is 1,725 minus 32. All right. You guys can use calculators, right?
I can use calculators on tests.
Okay. So we're going to take 1,725. We're going to subtract it by 32. It's 1,693. We're going to times it by 5 and then divide it by 9. And then Ellie, here's your crazy decimal like you got. So all we have to do we can do that, or we can do that, or we can do that. And then you put your degrees. So I wouldn't use this one. This one to me is not correct, because if I were to round to the nearest tenth, it would be 940.6 degrees. So now we look. This is 940.6 degrees Celsius, and this is 950 degrees Celsius. So did scientist 1 or did scientist 2 have the greatest temperature? I think you both are still.
I think it's scientist 2.
Scientist 2. So the answer is scientist 2 with a temperature of 950 degrees Celsius. All right. Do you guys think you got that correct, or do you not remember?
I'm
pretty sure I got that right.
I don't remember.
Okay. Now number 18. Your profit for mowing lawns this week is $24. I told you I always write everything out. Just in case I get confused, it helps me. You're paid $8 per hour. You paid $40 for gas and a lawnmower. How many hours did you work this week? So we know that your profit was 24. We know that you worked 8 hours times some amount of hours. And then you paid $40 for gas and your lawnmower. So we have to subtract that out. Does this equation make sense to you? I worked for $8 an hour times some amount of hours, but I have to subtract the $40 that it took to start my business.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're subtracting 40. I'm going to add 40. And then anything I do to one side, I do to the other. What's left on this side is 8x, and what's left on this side is 64. Now I have an 8 next to an x. I divide both sides by 8. X equals 8. Oh, it's not. It's 8 hours. Not $8. Always make sure when you have a word problem that you take care of the oh my gosh, so cute. You guys cannot distract me like that.
I wasn't trying to. She jumped up here.
I love dogs. No, you can totally distract me with dogs anytime you want. So whenever you have word problems, make sure that you always have a label on your answer. All right, here's my other tip for you girls. Your test is tomorrow, right?
It's Thursday because tomorrow's 246, and we have math first period, so it's gonna be on Thursday.
Yeah, we don't have math tomorrow.
You do not. Okay. So